Hey everybody, welcome back. Ken Cannon here with Living in Chapel Hill, the channel that helps you learn all about why Chapel Hill is the coolest town in North Carolina to live in. We're going to be doing something a little bit different today because today we're going to be looking at all three cities that make up the Triangle region here in North Carolina. Those cities are Chapel Hill, Raleigh, and Durham. Now, I get calls from people all over the country who are moving here that pegging down the area can be kind of hard. You know, which town is best for them? These three towns they all have great attributes to them. There's many great things that they offer. However, figuring out which one is the best fit can be difficult when you're not from here or you haven't spent a lot of time here. So today we're going to be diving into looking at all three of these towns and taking a look and seeing what they have to offer, what's great about them, what's not so great, and which one might be the best fit for you. So if you're thinking about moving to the area and you're having a hard time figuring out which town is best for you, this is the video for you. This is the one you're going to want to watch because we're going to take a look at all three towns and kind of weigh them all out against each other. Before we jump in, make sure to hit like and subscribe. And if you are thinking about moving to the area, be sure to reach out to us at the contact information below. We help people move here from all over the country, all over the world in fact, and we'd be happy to help you find an awesome home that you love. All right, let's jump into today's video.
Welcome to Living in Chapel Hill, the channel that's dedicated to helping you learn what it's like to live, work, and play in the coolest town in North Carolina. I'm your host, Ken Cannon, and this is Living in Chapel Hill.
So we're going to be looking at the three towns. We're starting smallest to biggest. I am a little bit biased because I do live in Chapel Hill, and we're starting with Chapel Hill. Chapel Hill is the smallest of the three towns. Chapel Hill is about 65,000 permanent residents here. It does inflate. There's about 30,000 students that come into the town when the university is in session, so it inflates up to about 90,000, 85, 90,000, depending on the year. And we see that population growing a little bit, but it is the smallest of the three towns. What is cool about Chapel Hill? Well, again, I'm a little bit biased, but I love the feel of Chapel Hill. You've got a nice small town feel. It's a strong academic environment here. You've got a great local music scene here, a great local art scene here. You have Carborough, which is a really cool kind of suburb of Chapel Hill, which is even more artsy, and the homes here are beautiful. The terrain here is beautiful. You've got a lot of older neighborhoods in Chapel Hill that have been built up and offer some great styles of homes. You're kind of going to see the styles of homes are going to be the same across all three of the cities. It's just more about like where they're located and how convenient they are to amenities, as well as their age and their style. But the styles are going to be the same in all three. It's just kind of depending on where you're looking at. So in Chapel Hill, it's mainly like the downtown area and Carborough are very walkable. It's got a small town walkable feel, but it doesn't feel small town. That makes sort of sense because you do still have a strong academic presence here with the university. You've got a strong business climate here. There's an entrepreneurial spirit that comes through here. There's a strong history here in this town. There's a lot that this town has to offer aside from just the beautiful surroundings that are here. So if you're into college sports, Tar Heel basketball is very renowned. Actually, college sports everywhere in the Triangle, with the three cities each having a renowned university in there. You have UNC Chapel Hill, which is the first public university in the nation, I believe, and that goes back to the late 1700s. You have Duke University over in Durham, and those guys are always basketball contenders. And then you have NC State in Raleigh, which has a really strong engineering program. They also have an agricultural program out there, and their basketball is pretty good too. I can't comment so much for the football for UNC and Duke. Don't beat me up, guys. Basketball rules the day around here. Anyway, so let's see. Yeah, Chapel Hill has got a lot of great stuff to offer. One of the big things that we see here in Chapel Hill that people really get excited about is the public schools. The public schools here have long had a reputation for being some of the best in the state. So that's elementary, middle school, and high school here. My own personal experience, having gone to high school here, I've gone to a number of schools. I moved around a lot when I was a kid, and I went to a number of different schools, and I had the experience of seeing, some good ones and some not so good ones. And when I landed in Chapel Hill, it was unlike anything that I'd ever experienced. The school system here was incredible. It was definitely preparing me for a university track in a way that no other school had, but the freedom and the respect that they gave the students was unlike anything that I'd experienced anywhere else, and it really, I think it was very helpful in shaping us to go on the way we did. So schools are great here. You pay a premium for that. We'll get into that when we kind of look at some of the cons of living in Chapel Hill. Back to the pros of living in Chapel Hill. We have lots of trails around here. If you're into running in trails or biking, mountain biking in trails, we have lots of great outdoor activities. Again, college sports are a really big thing around here. The music scene, I mentioned that, is great around here. It's really just kind of like a small, quaint college town with an active, energetic buzz that doesn't feel like it's like a small town. So those are the pros for Chapel Hill. Now let's jump into some of the things that, some of the cons of Chapel Hill. The taxes are high in Chapel Hill relative to the Triangle. The property taxes are really high in Chapel Hill. Those public schools that I talked about that were so exceptionally rated, they don't come cheap. And so they definitely see that in the property tax. What we see in our tax bill for our house here in Chapel Hill, you would definitely get a much larger house in parts of Durham and Raleigh as a result, unless you're into kind of like some of the downtown more historic areas, and those taxes are always high too. Anyway, one of the other cons of Chapel Hill, for me personally, that I've worked with and then relating to real estate, has to do with zoning and planning. If you're building something in Chapel Hill or you're trying to renovate something in Chapel Hill, the town planning can be a bit of a bear. And that's nothing against any individual that's there. I've worked with many of them, and they're great people to work with. It's just there's, I don't know if it's red tape or bureaucracy and the nature of the beast, but it can be painful. So if you're into building and developing and you want to add, come in here and find a house and add on to it, just know that Chapel Hill, relative to other towns in the Triangle, is a little bit more difficult. There's a little bit more hoops to jump through for some reason. What else? Downtown parking sucks. If you go downtown, especially now, they've tried to create more walkable paths downtown, expand patio dining. I think that's a product of COVID. They want to have more people eating outside, which I love eating outside. It's great. It's a great thing, but it's kind of taken away from Franklin Street, which is the main road downtown. They've kind of gone into the road there, using up some of the lanes and taking up that space. So parking, which was already a drag down there, is even more so. But besides that, walking around downtown is super cute. There's nice boutique stores down there. It's a great place to go out for a stroll. The campus is beautiful to walk on. So UNC campus, it's this nice sprawling red brick campus, and it's really nice. And if you ever ride around on a skateboard, there's this comforting little clicky sound that you get from the bricks. Anyway, I think that about covers Chapel Hill. We've looked at some of the pros and the cons there. Let's jump onto Durham. Durham bumps up to about 280,000 residents, permanent residents there. And then you have the university, but the university, Duke University, has less of an impact on Durham relative to the population there. Durham recently has seen a huge resurgence in its downtown area. What was a tobacco and manufacturing district is now a thriving entrepreneurial campus. You have what's called the American Tobacco Campus area in downtown Durham, which are these super cool old tobacco buildings, warehouse buildings with big pipe stacks and brick factory looking buildings, very commercial looking buildings that have been repurposed and repackaged as entrepreneurial hubs. And so there's a lot of creativity and innovation that's coming out of there. There's also a lot of tech jobs that are coming out of there as well. Of course, we've had Apple's big announcement here recently about RTP. RTP, for those of you who don't know, is a small section within the Triangle called Research Triangle Park. It's just a corporate park, a corporate research park where they have corporations and research companies that are there collaborating together in this sprawling campus area, and it's super easy to get to from any point in the Triangle. I think that was designed that way. It's like the second one that they've done in the world that was designed this way specifically for business. But it's a great asset to the area, and it's bringing in, just incredible jobs. I mean, again, we had the huge Apple announcement, which is $1 billion campus, 1 million square foot, I think is going to be the size of their footprint there. We also have Google has done cloud service stuff here. We have Nike just announced that they're coming into the area. So there's a lot of jobs, a lot of economic boom that's happening here in this area. And Durham is a big part of that, and especially kind of as you get into the RTP area of Durham. You're going to see similar housing styles in Durham, and again in Raleigh, as you see in Chapel Hill, you're going to see some of the 1950s and 60s and 70s kind of ranch style housing, some older houses that like 20s and 30s houses that's closer. Those are kind of closer to downtown that you see some of the old factory houses that are down there. Some of them are a lot bigger, especially as you get closer to Duke campus. Those homes are incredible. Trinity Park, Duke Park, that sort of area. As you get into, you'll see across Durham, as there's a 85 corridor that separates what's known as North Durham from kind of the downtown University Durham area space. And I can kind of show you where that is on a map. Historically, that barrier right there, that 85 barrier, had kind of set a barrier between in terms of pricing and demand, in terms of the value of those homes. Everything kind of south of that 85 corridor it was considered walkable to downtown. It's considered in demand. Over the last 15, 20 years there, we've seen a lot of renovation in there and a lot of appreciation in there. We've seen some rapid appreciation in some pockets in Durham, in especially downtown area. With some of these older homes going from, I remember when I was looking, when I got my start in real estate in 2007, I was looking at homes to buy in Durham, and this was before everything kind of really kicked off over there. And you could buy houses downtown in Durham for $30,000. Some of those homes had bullet holes in them, so it was kind of give you an idea of the type of home, type of area that these homes were sitting in. Now, in the last 14 years or so, we've seen this big shift that's taking place in there. Those $30,000 homes in their bullet-ridden conditions sold for $70,000. Then someone came in and fixed them up and sold them for $200,000. And then someone sold that fixed up $200,000 home to somebody else for $350,000. And now they're probably sitting $400,000, $500,000 for these homes in certain pockets. And we've seen that just happen over the last 14 years. So that's the kind of appreciation that we saw in there, and it's still ongoing. But it is now stretching over that northern barrier, and I don't see this slowing down anytime soon, especially with the announcement of all these new jobs. You're going to have more demand on that area. Downtown Durham is really where all the action is in Durham. You've got DPAC down there, you've got Durham Bulls Stadium, you have the American Tobacco Campus, you have Brightleaf Square. You have these really cool pockets to hang out in downtown Durham, and so that the desire to be around that is only going to increase as more people come to the area. So that perimeter, it just has to push out by its nature, and it's already breaking north of what was considered kind of a firm boundary before, and had been a firm boundary many years before for appreciation and home value. That has been crossed, and we are now over that northern barrier, and that appreciation is taking off over on that north side, and will continue to spread in there. The cool thing about that north side of Durham is that it has its own amenities. There's a lot of shops over there. A lot of stuff is kind of older and a little bit, in more disrepair. But as more demand goes in there, so does more money, and those things are also going to be fixed up. But one thing that money doesn't affect is the fact that in that North Durham area, you have access to the Eno River State Park, and that's a really cool place for kids and families to go to and go hang out and play. And just if you're into nature and walking, that's a really, really great place to go. So Northern Durham has its own pros as well. And as people as that downtown perimeter pushes outwards and upwards and northwards, you're going to see that spread into North Durham, and those home values continue to rise there, and the demand there, making that just a better place to live as time goes on. So what's not so cool about Durham? Traffic in Durham sucks. The parking in Durham sucks. I will say that there are pockets of Durham that from one to the next, you can go from really, really nice quality to really poor quality. And if you don't know where that area is, that transition happens real fast. And so making sure that you're ending up in the right area can be more challenging in Durham. What else would I say if there's any negatives about Durham? The schools for a long time, and I think this had to do with just kind of the economy in Durham had lagged, I think, in the 80s coming into the 90s. It's picked up incredibly, and it's taken off since. And so, but the schools, with that tax revenue down, everything being down, kind of saw they didn't have the best reputation, right? Durham schools, especially when you contrasted them with Chapel Hill schools, did not have the best reputation. And so for a while, their home buyers, sometimes you could have a Chapel Hill address that would have a Durham County, it would actually technically be in Durham County, therefore the kids would be going to Durham County schools. And that was kind of like counting against it. Now that's not happening so much. People are looking at the Durham schools and saying, they're really coming up, and there's been a lot more revenue going into those schools, building them up, and so that's less and less of a factor as time goes on. Oh, another thing that's not so great about Durham is it's not very walkable unless you're right downtown. There are pockets that are walkable, so like let's just say you live in North Durham, there are some pockets that are walkable in North Durham, but it's very much like strip mall-y spread out, if that makes sense. It's not as walkable unless you're right downtown. You're probably going to be taking a car to the grocery store, you're probably going to be taking a car even just to the drugstore. So plan on driving. All right, now let's take a look at Raleigh. So Raleigh is the biggest of the three cities in the Triangle. Raleigh is close to 500,000 people, and that number is growing every day as more and more people move to this area. I think Raleigh is probably the fastest growing of the three because it just has so much to offer. One, it's the capital city, so it houses the seat of government here. It also houses a thriving business climate. So we have RTP, which is just down the street, kind of shared with Durham in the sense that it's shared with everybody in the Triangle. It was designed that way so everyone has access to it from the Triangle. But those jobs spill over into Raleigh. Raleigh also has some major tech jobs as well. They have Cree, they have Oracle, Red Hat, other big names in Raleigh are there as well. So Raleigh is really thriving. Raleigh, if you want that metro feel, is going to be the place for you. It's got the tall buildings, it's got the cool skyline. There's this really great place called Dorothea Dix Park, which was a former state mental institution that was shut down, but the grounds are still preserved and as a park, and you can go there and it has the most beautiful view of the Raleigh skyline. And it's just a great place to go have a picnic on a nice day and kind of see these tall buildings off in the distance and have a nice, relaxing, serene picnic in the park. So throw that out there for Dorothea Dix Park. They also have a great farmers market in Raleigh, which is kind of in that same area. Downtown Raleigh is hustling and bustling. There are incredible restaurants. There are, like I said, it's a huge business climate down there, so there's lots of office buildings that are down there. There's great music venues down there. As a performing musician, I've played a number of different venues in Raleigh, and lots of fun, lots of appreciation for music in Raleigh, so I can get on board with that. You have NC State in Raleigh. NC State University, again, it has less of an impact on the city as a whole because, relative to the population, it's not as significant as it is, say, in Chapel Hill. However, NC State is a great university, and it has a great engineering program, great agricultural program, and does have a big impact on the town. Hillsborough Street in Raleigh is kind of like the main college university area where you see kind of the bars and the restaurants that are catering towards college students, and that's got a really cool feel. There's other streets, Glenwood Avenue, which is more catered towards like young professionals, people that are hitting the nightlife, that are looking for something a little bit more swank, but and kind of like urban uptown feel. You can get it all in Raleigh. You can go from straight country tailgating for football, NC State football games, to uptown high class dining, across the board. So that's a really cool thing about Raleigh, and there's really great people in Raleigh, and people from all walks of life are there and make up that city. And known as the City of Oaks, it is full of beautiful oak trees. So it's a very beautiful city as well. All three cities are beautiful in their own way. Raleigh is very beautiful though. And lots of old buildings in there, and new buildings, and just great architecture for a cool city feel. It doesn't feel like an oppressive city where, you feel super congested, you can't get out. It doesn't have that feel at all. You've got just enough, I think, excitement to feel like you're in a metro area, but you don't feel like it's coming down on top of you, or you can't get out of it. So, yeah, Raleigh's super great. What are the not so great things about Raleigh? The traffic of all three towns, the traffic is the worst in Raleigh. When my wife and I started dating, she lived in Raleigh and I lived in Chapel Hill. So I would make the drive from Chapel Hill to Raleigh quite a bit. And I'm telling you, the drive from Raleigh to Chapel Hill in the morning sucked. The drive to Raleigh from Chapel Hill in the evening sucked. It wasn't so bad the other way around. If you're going the other way around for some reason, it's much easier. But if you're going those directions at those times, it's terrible. And if you time it, if you really time it poorly, you can sit in traffic for a while. So from those of you who are coming from California, who just love sitting in your vehicles and taking 2 hours to go a few miles, this might feel like home to you. You might really like that, and that might be a welcome aspect to you. For me, who just likes to get on the road and go, I don't like sitting in congestion, and Raleigh has a lot of congestion, so that's not really a place I want to spend my time. They are working on it. I mean, DOT is always working on expanding roads and projects, and they're pretty good about it in this state. I'm not going to lie. I feel like we do. They put a lot of thought into the roads, and we get these kind of expressways and beltways and byways and all sorts of things to get around, and those do help. They do make a difference. So thanks for all you people out there in the DOT planning who are making a difference. I'm not really complaining at you, but I do not like to sit in traffic, so thank you. What else is not so great about Raleigh? Well, the demand is super high in Raleigh, just like it is in most towns. The rent is super high in Raleigh relative to the other towns here locally. I mean, in the university towns, in Chapel Hill, the properties that tend to rent higher tend to be more student rentals. They get a higher rate here. That's less so in Durham and especially in Raleigh. Raleigh, it's more focused on young professionals, and those rents are pretty high, and the demand is really high too, so they're getting those rents. And so if you're looking to move to this area and you're thinking about, where am I going to live, know that buying a house right now is often quite cheaper than renting a house when it comes to the monthly payment. The only trouble we have with buying a house is that there's limited inventory, so it's a competitive market and you're dealing with that. Right now, of the three towns though, Chapel Hill I would say probably has the biggest inventory issue, just being that we're the smallest town. We have a lot of people that want to move to this town, and we have very limited inventory for them. So we're struggling to keep up with that. Raleigh has a little bit more options. Durham has more options. And like I said, it has room to kind of grow northward, and that is taking place in Durham. And there's pockets of Raleigh where that still kind of, there's room to grow into as well. But Chapel Hill is, it doesn't really have that much room. And so the competition here is fierce. But you do have some competition and inventory issues over there as well to contend with. So when you're making an offer on a home, you're going to be looking at things like higher due diligence, less focus on improvements, that sort of thing, and in multiple offer situations. So just the nature of the market right now, something to contend with, but all the more reason to work with a team that knows what they're doing. And again, if you are somebody who is thinking about moving to the area and wants help finding a place, especially in this competitive market, reach out to our team, because we are happy to help. We do this all the time for people from all over the country, and we'd love to do it for you as well. So reach out to the contact info below. All right, so back to Raleigh, just to kind of button things up. Raleigh it's the place you're going to go to for your major concerts. It's got an outdoor amphitheater where big touring acts come through. It's got right downtown, there's a smaller amphitheater. So the big one is called Walnut Creek. The smaller one, I think it's called Coastal Credit Union Plaza now. They've changed their corporate sponsor, and so I forget the name, but it's right downtown, right near the Cree building. That one is a really cool venue in a cool setting. And I've seen some really good bands come through there as well. And then there's also PNC Arena. This is where arena shows come through, and you have also where the NHL, the Carolina Hurricanes, play. So big time events going on here in Raleigh, or there in Raleigh, and lots of cool things any night of the week. There's going to be some entertainment. Again, you've got DPAC and Durham for entertainment. You've got great music scene here in Chapel Hill. You've got a great theater scene, both Chapel Hill, Durham, and Raleigh. All right, guys. Well, I hope this gives you some useful information when thinking about what town is the best fit for you when moving to the Triangle area here in North Carolina. If you are thinking about moving to the area and you'd like some help, please reach out to us. We help people all the time and we'd be happy to help you too. Thank you for watching this video all the way through, and I hope it was helpful in helping you determine which town is best for you. Also, be sure if you haven't yet to hit like and subscribe and stay tuned for the next video. Thank you so much. This has been Ken Cannon with Living in Chapel Hill. Take care.